What's up? It's your boy Stevie83 and we're back with another react. You know what I'm saying? Today we're out Baltimore old jail with it. We're going to see what Baltimore gang took over the penitentiary. This is a place where I did some of my time. It's a sad thing to say. I've been to prison 3 times across 3 different states. So I've been to quite a few of these jails you'll see today. Not saying I'm proud of it. Not saying it is anything to brag about. But it is something that happened. Today we're visiting this. Make sure you go show my man right here some love. This guy does a lot of this work. And we don't see it. And he don't get enough credit for it. Top Viral Report TV. I think he's a Baltimore local. I'm not sure. But he is one of the homies. It is what it is. He is one of the homies, and we're here to make sure to check it out. Send him a like, drop him a follow, tell him I sent you. Make sure we keep the love going. Okay, we're going to get into it today. We're going to see why these lawyers didn't figure out, and these judges didn't figure out that these people are crazy.
Wrought iron gateway and turreted warden's house of the old city. In downtown Baltimore, the wrought iron gateway and turreted warden's house of the old city jail stand as a reminder of the darker past. Baltimore's first jail dates to 1801, but an elaborate Gothic prison was built.
This is what they call the old jail for anybody that the Baltimore House of Corrections. But
on
that's
East
not
Madison
that's
Street
not yeah,
by
that's
1860.
on Madison Street.
By the early 1900s, the
Street
facility was
the
notorious for overcrowding and squalor, described in 1938 as a disgrace to a metropolitan city, a sanitary menace, and a breeder of degeneracy. Decades of failed reforms followed, and it wasn't until the 1990s that the old jail would be retired. In 2015, Governor Hogan officially closed the 1859 built detention center, demolished in 2021, leaving its replacement to usher in a new era. Before we get started on this video, make sure you like the video and share it with someone to spread the violence awareness.
Well, an investigation is underway tonight as our gun is found inside Baltimore Central booking. The Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services says they've received information about a possible weapon inside the building. Investigators responded, and that's when they found a handgun. The gun was secured, and they continue to investigate.
State corrections officials are still looking for a Baltimore man who was awaiting trial for murder and was mistakenly released from custody on Friday. And now state lawmakers are speaking.
They let him out of jail. And it ain't like they let out someone who stole some candy up the street. It ain't like they let out the man that was DUI drunk driving last night. They let out a murder suspect.
Out, some calling for an independent investigation.
He failed to appear in court for a traffic ticket, but hours later, a Randallstown man died behind bars at Central Booking, and his family, of course, wants to know what happened. WMER 2 News' Jeff Hager tries to figure that side of the story out.
When De Niro Bellamy showed up in court for a traffic ticket on Wednesday, he was taken into custody for missing another appearance.
Wow.
Before the day was through, he would be dead.
Now listen, man, that's sad. That's a sad thing to say. They should know that he didn't mean this. Because what person in their right mind would show up for a court date knowing they already missed the court? Especially if you from out here in Baltimore. What is you on? You know you going to jail.
Nearly 9 decades after the old jail was rebuilt, the state finally opened a modern intake facility. In July 1995, Baltimore's new Central Booking and Intake Center began operation, consolidating every adult arrest processing under one roof. This 6-story concrete fortress, located on East Madison Street near the city's correctional complex, became Baltimore's gatekeeper for detainees. With every suspect fingerprinted,
see, this is an intake and booking right here. This is intake and booking right here, where you go in and after you come from Central over there at 401 Eager Street. They not close. They right across the street from each other. You go get locked up. They leave you over there in 401 Eager Street, the city jail. They leave you in there all night sometimes because they just make sure you're not drunk or doped up or anything like that. So they just leave you in there. Then when you get up and see the magistrate and she gives you whatever, you're going to stay in or you're going to catch PR, you're going to go on bond, you go over to the booking if you go stay in jail, you go over to the booking
and search there.
That's
Central Booking was designed to end the chaos of multiple small jails. Over time, it has handled tens of thousands of cases. Official records note that all adults arrested in Baltimore are processed there. In the years after its opening, Central Booking absorbed new duties. By 1991, the former city jail campus was already managed by the state, renamed the City Detention Center. After the old jail's 2015 closure, the booking center remained the city's main intake hub. Officials later outlined even larger plans. By 2024, Maryland announced a $1 billion therapeutic treatment center to rise on the old site by 2029, a hybrid jail/medical facility meant to replace the crumbling structures. Central Booking quickly became entwined with Baltimore's biggest headlines. In 2013, local TV captured a cinematic escape attempt. A newly arrested man bolted from a transport van, leapt a 14-foot barbed wire fence, and even dropped off a highway overpass, only to be shot and recaptured as he fled Central Booking. Such footage underscored the dangers lurking even within custody. 2 years later, the death of Freddie Gray brought more attention. In 2015, all 6 police officers involved in Gray's arrest and in-custody injury were brought to Central Booking for processing. A moment that thrust the facility into the national spotlight amid citywide protests. Other incidents turned dark inside the intake center. In October 2022, 34-year-old Javert Gaunt, a deaf man facing burglary charges, was found dead in his cell, strangled by his cellmate. Gaunt's family later sued, alleging that jail staff stonewalled before the killing allowed him to share a cell with a first-degree murder suspect. That suspect, Gordon Staron, was awaiting trial for a random axe murder attack and was ultimately sentenced to life. Gant's homicide was officially ruled a murder, sparking renewed scrutiny of jail operations. Such tragedies and the dramatic escape caught on camera remind us that even a modern intake center can be a scene of violence and fear. Baltimore's criminal underworld long reached into its jails, even Central Booking itself. Federal investigators later uncovered that the notorious Black Guerrilla Family BGF prison gang had established a stronghold in the complex. In a 2015 press release, U.S. attorneys noted that BGF had been the dominant gang at the detention center and even in several connected facilities, including the Baltimore Central Booking Intake Center. At the center of this was gang boss Tavon Bulldog White. White ran a racketeering and drug smuggling operation from inside the jail, aided by corrupt guards who ferried in cell phones, tobacco, and narcotics. By early 2015, White pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 12 years in prison for leading the conspiracy. In total, dozens of inmates and nearly 24 corrections officers were later convicted in the BGF corruption case, illustrating how deep gang influence ran in Baltimore's jails. These revelations hit headlines statewide. It was shocking to learn how both prisoners and staff had abetted
parlaying up in that boy.
The BGF saga underscored a harsh reality. Central Booking was not immune to the very violence it was supposed to contain. By the late 2010,
they be on Central Booking. That's how they work them. Did you see that lady? Now, she, like, them ladies, and you can't believe the amount of people that will actually talk to her just because they're trying to get something.
Grim legacy was compounded by crumbling conditions. Civil rights advocates regularly sued over unhealthy cells, moldy showers, and poor medical care, problems inherited from the old city jail. In one report, BCDC was described as dank and dangerous, with infestations and broken toilets. Chronic overcrowding added insult to injury. In 2022, a prison watchdog reported that Baltimore's intake center and adjacent jail were bursting at the seams, with inmates forced to sleep on inflatable plastic boats in a gymnasium due to lack of beds.
Free for all in that bed. That's day room. See, they had to work up to this. Y'all see this stage here? They had to work up to this. Like, I don't like that. Me myself, when I go in a facility like this, I haven't been locked up in over 11 years now, but when I go into a facility like this, I don't never get my certification that low to where I can go to an open door or outside the fence or anything like that, man. I get a closed 4 and I don't come out from behind the door. That's just how they keep me.
Class action noted that the building's defects directly harmed detainees' health and lives. With conditions so dire, even expensive fixes don't guarantee safety. As one advocacy leader observed, building a new center won't fix systemic issues like staffing and treatment programs. Still, Change is coming.
Them women
Construction
up there
crews
going
have
for
begun
anything,
demolishing
too.
old wings of the jail, and the $1 billion 0 cents Baltimore Therapeutic Treatment Center is slated to open by 2029. When that complex combining
Man, they
jail
gonna
cells
slam
with
it that
hospitals
fast?
and therapy units finally replaces the old intake center, it will close a long chapter in the story of Baltimore's jails. Until then, central booking stands as a symbol of
They
the
ain't gonna
city's
do nothing but
ongoing
open a
struggle
new
with
one,
crime, punishment, and reform. By 2013, federal prosecutors revealed that Baltimore's city jail had been overrun by the Black Guerrilla Family BGF prison gang. Authorities said
Not
inmates and
only
guards
them.
had essentially taken over.
Not only them, because then you got the other set, the white boys that run, they got the DMI, Dead Men Incorporated. That's what it's called inside the penitentiary, man. And they coming up rough. Them boys are not going for anything. They will, man, in 2007, when they shut down the men's part of Jessup, they called it the cut. When they shut down that in 2007, when we left up out of there, I went to WCI in Cumberland. When we left up out of there, these smug had 47 inmates and 11 COs got airlifted up out of there that year. I don't know if that's a high number. I ain't looked up the nation's statistics on that or anything, but it's a pretty high number for 1 year time.
With the asylum inside central booking, running a full-scale criminal enterprise.
It's a war
in total,
in there
44
every day.
people were charged, 27 of them corrections officers, underscoring how
27.
deeply the game had penetrated the jail. Local reporters.
Can you imagine 27 COs working in this jail that are dirty? The amount of stuff that's coming in, cell phones, cigarettes, weed, pills, any kind of drugs that are coming in there. Not to mention the essays that are going on in there and the women giving it up. I bet you if not going to see, there's going to be some women come up pregnant in here.
Noted the evidence reads like a box office film. Guards smuggling drugs in body cavities, trading sex with inmates, and even black market rent payments for TV access. U.S. officials warn
a lady that's living in the projects, living on a fixed income, got 3 or 4 kids, she's not going to turn down a $300 pack of cigarettes. She's not going to turn down, she brings in an eighth of weed, and that's $800-900, you know? If one pill that goes for $5 on the street, when it goes in behind them walls, guess what? It went to $50, maybe $100.
that what happened behind bars was fueling the violence on Baltimore streets.
This is for
May even be
educational and
exacerbated.
entertainment purposes
U.S.
only.
Attorney Rod Rosenstein said the indictment first became public on April 23, 2013, and it was devastating in scope. A Baltimore grand jury charged 25 defendants, including 13
really looks
current
bad
and
when you
former
see
jail
the
guards
numbers.
with a racketeering conspiracy to operate the BGF inside the detention center. On that day, federal agents and trusted outside officers executed 15 search warrants across the jail, roughly 170 agents in all, sweeping suspects off the compound. The filings charged that gang leaders had bribed and corrupted the very officers meant to guard them. Guards were paid in cash, expensive gifts, and even long-term sexual favors to smuggle drugs, cell phones, and contraband into the jail. The FBI noted that green-dot debit cards were used to funnel money. Gang dues and drug profits bought luxury cars and cell phones and recorded jailhouse calls. Ringleader Tavon Bulldog white taunted, "This is my jail. I make every final call in this jail," asserting complete control over even the smallest decisions. Investigators found a brazen smuggling operation. Correctional officers routinely hid drugs and pills in body cavities, shoes, or even in sandwiches as they entered the jail. Desperate inmates paid top dollar. Authorities reported that Percocet went from $5 on the street to $50 a pill behind bars. Guards stood watch as prisoners romped in jail bathrooms and closets. One affidavit describes an officer guarding a closet door so an inmate could have privacy for sex. Nearly all the inmates given so-called working man privileges were BGF members, one informant said.
Privileges. A working man privilege is, when I had a correctional woman, when I had a CO bringing me in, I ain't gonna say, just when I had my little game going on, the working man, when I had my stuff going on, I had nighttime janitor or the dorm, that not the dorm, but the unit I was living in. I lived on a unit called Wood. See, up there they named them all after just like trees and stuff. The unit I was in, and there was so many people in there, but I'd have to go out at nighttime when everybody went in their cell for lockdown. I'd be let out to clean the day room up. So that's when my relationship started. We would take off and we'd go, when everybody was locked down, I'd go get my little mop water. First thing I'd do is go down, I'd grab a new trash bag from out behind her desk. I was allowed behind the desk and everything. I ain't now this is for educational purposes. Now, I'm not saying any of this is going to ever happen again, or this is all just for story time. Now, I'd go get my trash bag from in behind her desk, and then I'd go straight and fill my mop bucket up. While I was doing that, she would take and do her rounds. She'd go check, make sure all the doors was locked, make sure that, I don't know why, but they were really messed up, really hard asses on keeping your light uncovered in your cell. I mean, I could probably understand why, but I really don't. Because how can you sleep with the light on? I can't stand it. But anyway, that's how it happened. That's the day I had a working man. That was a working man job.
In fact, one former guard admitted he was pocketing up to $10,000 to $15,000 per week by pushing pills and phones from inside.
Extra.
As the FBI put it, corrections officers were in bed with BGF inmates, smoking phones and drugs.
Not only in bed, but having babies with them.
And arranging bribes to ensure the flow of contraband. The affidavit reads like a box office film, a Baltimore TV reporter commented. Indeed, the 2013 court papers are lurid. 4 female officers allegedly became pregnant by White, with at least one getting a Tavon tattoo as a sign of loyalty. A New Yorker profile noted that about 75%
CO tatted his name on her. That's how deep it runs. He's probably telling her he loves her. Now this is jail talk. For all you ladies out there, this is what they call jail talk. These men are going to tell you what you want to hear. Baby, when I get out of here, I'm a changed man. I'm never going to come back to jail again. I'm not going to talk to the guys. I'm not going to be hanging on the block. I'm not going to be doing none of that. We getting married. I'm getting a 9 to 5, and I'm taking care of you. We're straight going square. And I'm doing all that for you. Because what you're doing for me. I love you, baby. I love you. And then those couple weeks goes on. See, he's got nothing but time. And he knows how to control himself. Because any man that's did any serious time has good control over their mind. Especially if you did any solitary confinement time. I was locked up in the hole for 19 months straight. Quality of life program. I think it started at like 20 months. 19, 20 months before you was even eligible to start the quality of life program called QOL, quality of life program. It's when, it's just a big program that sets you up to fail. But he got nothing but time. He's going to start telling her, listen, baby, man, this is getting hard on me. I got no money, no people on the outside. I've been in here. I love you. It's a shame we can't do something about this, man. Only you got the power. I can't. I'm locked in here. Hey, please. Man, please. And then it just starts a snowball effect after that.
The jail's guards were women, and up to 75% of them were implicated in the scheme. Guards warned White of searches. One officer called him on a contraband phone to say a shakedown was coming, and even stood lookout outside a shower so prison staff could copulate freely. By contrast, ordinary inmates were extorted, forced to pay protection money, or told to refuse to cooperate with investigators. Outside the jail, the Black Guerrilla family remained notoriously violent. A later federal racketeering indictment, June 2015, laid bare a string of gang-sanctioned killings. It charged BGF conspirators with 2 murders, 2 attempted murders, and 3 overdose deaths linked to their drug operations. For example, one court filing described how a street lieutenant sanctioned the murder of rival members in Baltimore by ordering multiple shootings. Overall, the indictment said all defendants were part of a pattern of criminal activity that included narcotics trafficking, extortion, armed robbery, and homicide. The BGF gang was effectively a murder-for-hire enterprise on the streets, as well as an inmate ring inside. In the end, prosecutors say virtually all of the accused went to prison for their roles. By 2015, 40 of the 44 people charged in the jail racketeering conspiracy had pleaded or been found guilty. BGF leader Tavon White himself pleaded guilty and was sentenced in 2015 to 12 years in federal prison for running the jail operation.
He just got 12 more.
In total, he is serving a...
Now, they going to do this. They don't run nothing concurrent. When it's fed and you got state time, you got federal and state time, you got to be a snitch for him to run that together. Meaning, he's not going to start that 12 years until he gets done finishing his whatever charge he's doing
20-year term when combining federal and related state convictions. In the sentencing hearing and press releases, officials credited the Maryland Prison Task Force formed in 2011 for uncovering this scheme. They also noted that 24 of the jail employees caught in the plot were already convicted. Many of the rest have since pleaded guilty. The indictment marked a turning point. Maryland authorities...
That's going to do it for us today, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I don't really try to ask too much anymore because you know, y'all do it for me anyway. But I want to make sure, give a special thanks to the last couple people that have subscribed. I make sure I love and appreciate y'all. I do it for you guys. I'm not doing this for fame or fortune. I'm just doing it to spread awareness and hopefully one day to feed my kids. That's all I'm trying to do. Out of here. Peace.